Namaskar, welcome to Bharat Voice. Today we'll speak about the fake Christian persecution narrative or the fake Christian persecution claims made to protect the evangelist mafia. So, we know that the PIN has been filed by Peter Macado, an Archbishop of Bangalore Diocese, claiming Christian persecution in India and seeking directions from the court to stop these persecutions, so-called violence against Christians. So these have been resoundingly debunked by the central government, and their falsehoods have been exposed, and they have been called as self-serving documents and just mere conjectures. So now they came up with some 162 odd cases which were found to be really false by the center, and 39 and another 139 were actually which were projected as Christian violence targeted against Christian community was actually mere, regular sort of interactions or regular fights between two parties, which is being blown up to some persecution uh, to create an impression as though Christians are being persecuted. So these, I feel, have been created because to protect the evangelist mafia that is running right in this country. For example, this very week we came across a news report saying that a Christian principal of a government college in Tamil Nadu from Dharmapuri, she refused to hoist the tricolor. She says, I just refuse. I mean, that is the level of indoctrination of Christians and evangelists here. So, because just imagine, and then the students even claimed that they were being discriminated against for being Hindus. And then we have had several cases. We have had the case of Lavanya, who in her, she was forced to commit suicide. There's a claims that she was forced to convert by the Christian school that she was studying in at Tirkatapalli in Tanjavur. And when she refused, she was harassed, and that forced her to take her life. Commit suicide. That again is a problem. And then we have several cases coming forward. For example, in Andhra we have a chief minister whose brother-in-law, literally Mr. Anil Kumar, is the he is himself an evangelist. And then there are many claims where hundreds of temples have been desecrated, and desecration, people behind it are not being investigated properly. And there are reasons to believe that this non-believers or non-Hindus could be against this kind of vandalism. And then there were cases. You had a pastor called Praveen Chakravarti who openly came out on video to allege that he has made several Christ villages in Andhra. He converts the whole village. By allurement and all those things. What they do is they try to make well for people, try to make some small hospital, small clinic or something, lure people, and then slowly convert. And when they do so, they try to tell that idol worshipping is devil. And once the village is converted, he openly spoke on the video saying that he kicks Hindu idols. He said that he kicks Hindu idols, and then he kicks out even the cuts the people tree, which is said to be very holy for Hindus. And then we have had other cases like Lazarus. We all know the kind of hate that is spread by Pastor Lazarus down in South. He openly says idol worship is devil. And that is why he even said that we are now facing COVID because the country is worships idols and we worship Saturn. That's what he claimed. And then we had a pastor called George Ponaya who literally abused Bharat Mata as some filthy lady. I mean, all kinds of nasty things that were said. And then you have Jagat Gasper, Pastor Jagat Gasper, who not only he literally wants Sanatan Dharma to be completely destroyed. And not only that, he's been involved in many sort of uprisings which we call as protests. uh, we had this Kudankulam protest, and then we had this Sterlite. They protested against the Sterlite company, which company they forced to close down the copper producing company. And now India was earlier exporting copper. Now we import copper from China. Now it is for all to see where and what is the motivation behind all this. So even the Kudankulam project, which is important for energy sufficiency in India, was shut down by a protest which was actually driven by the church and the European church, because the project was to be made by Russia. So the European other churches got together to see to it that the project is never done. We've had several such allegations. And then, of course, we had the Indian Medical Association chief, John Rose Jayalal, openly giving an interview to some evangelist of mouthpiece, saying that he converted many, he saw COVID as an opportunity to bring people to Jesus. I mean, it's all there. And then he said he has lots of problem with Sanskrit. He was against Ramdev Baba, and then having Sanskrit as a teaching Sanskrit to people, and so many other things too, because he's against the culture, the basic culture of India and traditions. So to discuss, and then of course we have two more important people. That is Paul Dinakaran, who literally has a mini Vatican empire down south. His Karunya, his Jesus calls and Karunya, you can say, empire, which runs many educational institutions, which he uses the institutions as a mode to convert people. In fact, there is a village there which is called Nallur Vayal village in Coimbatore area somewhere. What he tried to do, he tried to change the name of the village to Karunya, which is stopped again. And then not only that, some thousand odd tribals that were living there, he used the educational institute that he runs to create a sort of, during the census, to keep out these people as SC/ST so that they cannot avail the reservation facility, because then these people had to go to court and then get themselves registered as SC/STs, whereas people who convert to Christianity, that is not shown and they still avail the benefits. And in Karnool again, when people protested against illegal churches being brought up in Gram Sabha area, they were being slapped by with false SC/ST cases against them. You file an SC/ST case against a person, he goes, he simply, as soon as one registers an FIR, that's it, one is arrested. There is nothing, there is no inquiry, nothing, one is arrested. It's a draconian law. So there is literally a kind of harassment that is faced by people on the ground who try to resist this mafia. Now we have with us Jerome Antoji, a very well-known activist who speaks against the church very boldly. So please do speak. The floor is all yours. Please do give your bit to me. Tell your bit to us.
Thank you, Gayatri ji. Thank you for inviting me on your show. It's a pleasure to be speaking on issues and concerns which affect our nation. Just a small correction: I am not against the church. I am not against Christians. I myself am a Christian. I am a practicing Christian. I go to church regularly. I participate in all the church activities. I am against the activities of certain communities who are anti-India,
Mm,
who are anti-Hindu, who make living in this nation uncomfortable, and who I would say are involved in something called as cultural terrorism.
Hmm.
When I said cultural terrorism, it means that we are an indigenous people. We, as per history is concerned, there were close to 45 to 46 indigenous nations, indigenous people. We are one of the last indigenous people surviving on the face of the earth. The last 40 odd have been wiped out, and they're all living in splinters spread across the length and breadth of the globe. We are the only nation on the globe, on the face of the earth, due to our high and strong moral traditions and practices, we've survived. And when we are so rich in our practices, and there is an enemy which is trying to defeat it, then we need voices. And I am one of those voices. I am a proud Bharatian. Okay, and it is as much as all of it's a responsibility for everybody. It's my responsibility also to do a bit to safeguard our nation.
Yes.
So that's a belief in terms of what I wanted to say. Yes, there are a lot of atrocities, and like you started the subject, there is PIL that was filed by certain Christian organizations and Christian leaders, and in the Supreme Court, and the government has given a very fitting reply, saying that these cases which have been quoted by these eminent people of the church do not hold ground. They are all hollow. They have half baked information. They are people who are supposed to be credible in their own societies, in their own organizations, but they are crying wolf without even having any kind of a responsibility. They have approached the Supreme Court, and I am glad that the government has rubbished this whole acquisition as something which does not hold ground. I urge the government of India not to just leave this, not to brush this aside.
Hmm.
Take this, take this as a challenge. Pick up these cases, investigate them,
Yes.
prove it to them, and if possible, institute criminal charges against them for instigating communal disturbance and violence in this nation.
Absolutely. Absolutely, sir. So this was started by an organization called Persecution Relief. I think that is a dubious organization which sort of makes up all these fake cases. Would you like to speak about
Yes,
that?
yes, it's a very open story, because Persecution Relief is an organization which is based in India, and it is run by an Indian. And if you look at all the videos, whatever they have created to put fear among the people, these are, if it is very evident by these cases, they are dubious. For example, I remember going through some of the videos and some cases. Uh, some electrician, some person was climbed an electrical post, and he got electrocuted, and he died.
Mm-hmm.
Since he was one of the Christians, it was accused that he is a pastor, and people forced him to climb the pole, electrical pole. What a
I mean,
ridiculous statement they have made. Likewise, there are so many cases which are half baked, which don't have any strength within itself. But this organizations like this have been creating a lot of fake narratives, and this is no accident, because this is a very well thought out plan. This organization and many such organizations have become very active since 2014,
14.
or on the onset of when they got wind that the BJP will be in power. So they got wind about it. So there was a lot of rattling around, creating enough noise saying that putting a fear among the Christians, saying that if the BJP comes to power, Christians will not be able to live in this
Mm.
nation. I remember this very well because I also remember in my churches, in and churches around, across the country. In fact, I remember very prominent Christian leaders had made statements saying that Christians will not be able to survive. This is way back in 2014, and as we speak today, 2022, nothing has changed. In fact, I would say appeasement by several political leaders and the Christian community is thriving.
Yeah.
So nothing has changed as of now. Things are moving the way it is. It is BAU, business as usual.
Yes.
They have failed. I remember a lot of pastors, a lot of Christian leaders had predicted in the name of Jesus that the BJP will fail even in 2019. But Prime Minister Modi came back in 2019 with a thumping majority. Literally, it was a slap on the faces of these people who predicted in the name of Jesus that Prime Minister Modi will be defeated. So they have been rendered false in their own predictions. There are several organizations which manufacture these fake narratives and peddle it with the press. And
Mhm.
also, if you notice, the moment such an incident is manufactured, a lot of international news agencies pick it up. So it
Mm.
appears that there's a well concocted relationship between these manufacturers of fake narratives and those sitting across the globe
Yeah.
and peddling fake information about us. As we speak, um, one thing what we all need to notice is this is only fake narratives, but there are so much of reality which is happening within the church, especially abuse,
Yeah.
crimes, sexual abuse of men, women, children. These are all hushed up within the four walls of these institutions. Nobody speaks about him, and if anybody speaks, even the press does not speak about him. So
Yes.
this is a well-oiled machinery which is here to only spread fake narratives about our nation. And it is a perfect marriage between politics and religion here in India also, because these organizations cannot survive and cannot thrive without the able support of these political parties and political leaders who give them ample bandwidth and support.
Absolutely. And then lots of money also comes in from abroad for these kind of activities, which is not, they bring it in with under the claim of social service. But what they actually do on the ground is something else. I mean, it's all kinds of incentives for conversions and all those things. And as you said about abuse, Sister Lucy had spoken very boldly against sexual abuse in church. Now she was, instead of trying to support her, she was, they threw her out of the convent, her accommodation, and even they defrocked her too. I mean, they removed her from her nunship. Right from Vatican, the thing came. So, would you like to speak about it, about the kind of persecution that is there on people who speak against the church from within the church?
Sister Lucy's case, at least we can say that the courts passed an order. So we better not comment about it. Let us talk about those orders which have been passed by the courts.
Yeah,
There was a murder of a nun who was was a very young nun, and this was in Kerala.
yeah.
There was a recent conviction. The priest and the nun who were involved in the murder of this young nun. I don't remember her
Sister
name.
Abhaya?
Sister Abhaya, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sister Abaya's case. It took 28 years for
Yeah,
this case to be come to the courts and to be for the conviction to happen.
absolutely.
And by the witnesses and by the press reports, it was very clear that the church went tooth and nail to ensure that this case does not see the light of day. But thankfully for those witnesses and those who pursued this case, this nun was given justice, and these two people were convicted. So let's not talk about those people who were not convicted by the court. There are so many convictions that has happened. as recent as possible in Mumbai, there is a priest who's gone for a life imprisonment for sexually abusing a boy, a child, a
Mm-hmm.
boy, very young boy, who was abused by the Catholic Church, Catholic priest. And when the mother of the child went for justice to the, as far as the cardinal is concerned, she was given a cold shoulder treatment, because
Mm-hmm.
of which she approached the court. And finally, the court gave justice to the lady and the son, and the priest has been convicted for life. So there are so
Mm-hmm.
many other cases which get convictions, but we do not see, which do not come into the mainstream media. There is
Mm-hmm.
another case, for example, in Coimbatore, if I'm not wrong, there is a Catholic priest again who was in the United States, who was deputed in the United States, who was accused of sexual abuse by a lady from the US, and he was convicted. And he was convicted in the US, and then he came back to India. So there
Mm-hmm.
are many such cases which the laity, that is, the people themselves, are scared to talk about. They're scared to talk about, because for them, the church leaders and the clergy are cannot make mistakes.
And we,
So
yeah.
sorry,
And we had this recent case of, I think, Robin. There was a person called
Father Robin.
Robin. Yeah,
Yes, Father
Father Robin.
Robin, Father Robin's case also, correct. Yeah, there are several such cases which the mainstream media doesn't pick it up.
Mm.
Uh, which mainstream media doesn't pick it up. So
Yes.
there are many, compared to the population, so-called population of Christians in India, which is supposed to be 2%, which I don't believe.
Mm-hmm.
The proportion of crimes are much higher, is what I would say. So this is, see, when the members of the church, the clergy who are in power, when the power comes in, there is too many opportunities to abuse. So
Yes.
abuse is very common. I have personal interactions and encounters of people who are church leaders who are involved in sexual abuse, crimes, and all that stuff.
Uh, can there be not more transparency in this within the system itself in the church, because it's something that one should address. I would say that not just for the church, even in Hindu institutions, I am very careful, I'm very clear about this. No sexual abuse should not be tolerated at all. I mean, so there should be a transparency, there should be a system where it is addressed properly. Can't we put in a system like in the church also?
No, we cannot, because the church is very powerful, and in spite of all the guidelines, the Vishaka guidelines, in spite of all the legal provisions that is available, it is not possible to penetrate the organization called church. The church is very powerful. It can shake the very foundation of several organizations. So it's transparency is something which is not possible, and above all that, there should be a political will. Everything has to come with a political will. So there's
Yeah.
no political will as of now.
Yeah.
So it will take time. I'm sure there is going to be a lot of changes that is going to happen, and
Yeah.
things will change. I look forward to the government to amend a lot of laws so that things become much easier.
Yes. And Jerome J, recently there was a huge protest down in Salem. Like the Dalit Christians, that is the converted Christians who were Dalits, they were protesting that appointments to the church, the offices in the church, are being given to non Dalits even in Dalit diocese. So, I mean, they were saying that an archbishop that has been appointed is not a Dalit. So, there is, because Christians, I mean, the church and the Christian clergy, they convert people claiming that there is caste system in Hinduism and all kinds of so-called oppression and all that. I don't deny there could be certain cases here and there, and which should be corrected. There is no room for any discrimination. But they claim they convert people saying that there is no discrimination here. Once you convert, you there's a magic wand, and then I mean, it's all great here, but that doesn't seem to be so.
Absolutely. I remember seeing a lot of protests in Pondicherry, in parts of Tamil Nadu, where the Dalits have been threatening, saying that if they are not given equal rights, they will convert back to Hinduism. Not to mention that we have the actual conversion or the total population of our nation. 60 to 70% of Christians in India are Dalits. Okay, so they've been lured with a lot of provisions, with a lot of aspirations, saying that there won't be caste system, everybody is treated equally. But once you come into the organization, it's different because uh, caste system survives and thrives in all these religious institutions in various ways, and only those people who actually are beneficiary of discrimination will be able to voice it out. It's already on the media. There's a lot of people speaking about it. A lot of protests have come forward, and I think over a period of time, people will realize that caste system is as strong as it is in Hinduism, in Christianity also.
Yeah, and in fact, there are different churches, I believe, for the Dalits and then for the other people. I mean, there were some attacks in Bangalore some time back, some years back, which was on the churches, which was put. I mean, the blame was put on Bajrang Dal and the RSS, saying that it is them who had attacked the churches, and then it later on came to light that it was a Christian himself doing it, and they were angry with the church because they were not allowing them any rights there. I mean, so
No, yeah. So the first thing what happens is this: whenever there is any kind of any sort of an attack, I do not know that happens. It is the first branded as uh, action of fanatical Hindu organizations. This has many times has not been proved. I remember in Mangalore, one more case I remember is that one statue was broken,
hmm,
and there was a lot of ruckus, and it came on the media. It was flashed across the globe saying that some miscreants, communal miscreants, had broken the statue in a church. And the next day, when the police investigated, they found out that actually there was a drunkard who apparently used to pray every day, and since his prayers were not answered, he moved the statue from one place to another place. So once this thing came to the notice of the church authorities and the administration and politicians, the case was closed. So like that,
yes,
there are a lot of cases which do not have a logical conclusion, which are not proved, but then they keep
yes,
accusing that it is communally driven. It is handiwork of such organizations who actually protect the Hindu community. For example, the Bajrang Dal or
hmm,
the VHP or any of the organizations, they're not into offense. They're more into
yeah,
defense. Yeah, they're
yeah,
different. They want to defend their own religion. They want to
correct,
protect their own community.
correct,
But the very act of protecting the whole community is taken as oppression, because the reason is the Christian community has not seen any kind of defense. The Hindus have always accepted it, have have tamely accepted everything. Now that
yes,
this Hindus are standing up, they are not able to digest the fact.
correct. You're right, Jerunji, and because there are many places where there are no Christians, literally no Christians. They come up there, occupy a land, build a church, bring people there, offer cakes, I mean, all kinds of things, free food and free whatever, and then lure people to try to convert them to Christianity. And then slowly, first they offer educational services. Once a person starts going there, what they start to do is slightly, I mean, slowly abuse Hinduism, say that it is a religion of superstitions, and it is, and you worship stones and so many other things. All that is not. I mean, otherwise, you sit in, have a church, have a place for yourself. Already, they have occupied a lot of spaces. I mean, from the British time, they have lots of spaces. I mean, big churches. I mean, we don't have any problem if we go and pray there and do whatever. And pray there to their Jesus and such things. The problem is they try to convert us. Already, a lot of us have been converted. In fact, there are many who are converted and don't show their conversion certificates to take avail the reservation facilities too. So, how do we tackle this problem?
Currently, uh, see my intention and my always earnest effort is to the Hindu community is to protect the flock,
Yes.
because the currently the missionaries, the Abrahamic religion, both the Muslims and the Christians, they work on a very aggressive expansionist ideology. The philosophy
Yes.
is expansionist, either organically or inorganically. One religion works organically, the other religion works inorganically. The idea is expansion. Religious control leads to economic control, social control, and political
Hmm.
control. So the idea is to take control and make people uh, slaves.
Yeah.
Convert them and bring them to the control. When you are able to control, then the people who follow become literal slaves.
Yeah.
See, so the only way the Hindu society can react is this, is to from a family point of view. I think you all need to practice your religion. Many of them rubbish saying that we don't practice. This is all not
Yes.
acceptable. These are Abrahamics. You cannot say, because if you say we don't practice Hinduism, that means that you and your children become vulnerable.
Yes.
I know a lot of Hindus says that we don't worship God, we are atheists and we're still Hindus. So what happens is this: when your children and when your kith and kin come in contact with such meticulously planned missionaries and proselytizing communities, they fall easy prey, because
Yes.
you and your children are not able to answer certain questions. So it
Yes.
is important to strengthen your families, strengthen your own knowledge. First of all, you need to have knowledge, and without knowledge, you will not be able to counter any of their questions. Because if you look at the Abrahamics, especially, they will, even if you interact with them, religion comes into picture, because everybody thinks it's for every either of the communities, it is a pious responsibility to convert.
Hmm.
Their job, each person's responsibility is to convert. So when you don't have knowledge or no knowledge, then you fall flat to the questions that
Absolutely.
is being asked. So my only request to each and everybody is this, especially the Hindus, is this: please strengthen your families with your knowledge, strengthen your children, teach them about principles, morality, a lot of things that is very innate to Hinduism. That is the way
Absolutely.
you can protect. Because
Absolutely.
currently there is a lot of funding that happened. The government would have banned would have put a stop to the FCRS, but there are several other ways where money can trickle into the nation, and the money is still trickling into the nation. And there's a lot of investment that is happening from different parts of the globe. To As we speak today, I remember there is one person in the US. It came in the news yesterday. He and his organization has dedicated $176 billion to convert India.
Oh my God.
When that is the kind of funding that happens,
Hmm.
where would we stand when that's the kind
Absolutely.
of investment that is going to come in?
Absolutely.
And they will buy off anything and everything.
Absolutely.
So it's going to be a very Herculean task unless we don't prepare. It's going to be a very slippery. It's going to be a very. We are going to be in a very slippery situation.
Absolutely. In fact, I feel there are many, as you said, our fundamentals should be strong about our concept of Bhagwan and Ishvara, that. And even our people also need to know what is, as you said, the pious obligation of a Christian, I mean, of the church and the clergy. So we should be aware that it is natural that they are going to try it, because if we are aware of it, we then know to avoid it. So, or how to avoid it, how to get around it. Yeah, so because the anti-conversion, that brings us to the anti-conversion law. So how do you think the anti-conversion law has helped in curbing conversions? Has it helped at all? And should we have a central law? I think we should have. What are your views about it?
Currently, the constitution has is very the constitution is very tricky. The right to religion itself is very it's a very it's a law that has been, I would say, it is anti-Hindu and pro Abrahamics,
Yes.
because it puts a lot of curbs on Hinduism, but then it gives a free hand to the other religion, other minorities. The right to religion itself need to be relooked. There is a lot of because the state because as of now, right, anti-conversion law is a state subject. It is
Mm.
not a central subject. It is a state subject. So and each state is ruled is taken care by different political parties. So some have, some don't have. So it is. I always say that it is a toothless tiger. It is only for the namesake that such um, a law is there in the state, because there are no convictions that have happened so far, and those who are fighting these cases, though they are involving in conversion, they have they know the law better than many of us, so they can escape through these legal provisions. So the right to religion itself need to be relooked.
Yeah.
It is not an absolute law. It's not an absolute law. It's not an absolute fundamental right, but still it appears to be an absolute fundamental right for the Abrahamics. And it's
Yes.
a highly not just used; it's a highly misused law. As of now, highly misused fundamental right by certain religious communities.
Absolutely, absolutely, Jeromji. There is a word called propagation there in the constitution, in the right to religion. That is misused to convert, and because that they say we have a right to propagate, so propagation means right to convert. That's what they say, and then
Absolutely,
they and then they try to spread this kind of fake narrative, or fake you can say knowledge also, by saying that the tribe Adivasis and the Dalits, Harijans, they are not Hindus, so we are not actually converting anybody. I mean, that is absolutely fake, because all the Adivasis, they worship nature, right? And the Trimurtis in their own way. They actually are part of the larger Indic system. Like we were all together the same, you know. So would you like to speak about it?
Sorry, question once again. Sorry,
I
I
said,
missed that question. I know you
I
spoke
said
about the Adivasis.
yes. Like they try to say that they are not Hindus, so we're just converting. I
Correct.
mean, actually.
Correct. So
So
yeah. See, for example, the deities that are worshipped in the north slightly differ in the south or each part of the nation, because we are a diverse nation, and we had our own practices. So for a Hindu, it need not be he must worship. Even if he's an atheist, he can be a Hindu. But
yes,
the constitution, the right to religion, the idea of propagation, everything is well thought over. See, the idea of propagation itself is not innate to Hinduism. Hindus don't propagate because it's a way of
mm,
life,
yes,
and there is it there is it always comes from within. Conversion, when you said the understanding of Hindu religion comes from within,
mm,
unlike there is no machinery
mm,
activity where somebody goes and tells somebody and all. So it's a practices, and we were nature worshippers. Our forefathers were nature worshippers. And as we speak now, we still have a lot of people who are nature worshippers, and that is all
Yeah.
part of Hinduism.
Yes.
That is why there are 330, if I'm not wrong, 330 crore gods, right?
Yes.
I mean, I'm just saying. So we have different practices. So these are all used as loopholes where these missionaries can use to convert and still get away with the law. So that is why I
Mhm.
said the law needs to be amended, relooked at the center, and there should be one central law. Conversion
Mhm.
needs to be relooked, because as we speak now, in spite of all the promises and all the awakening that's happening, conversion is happening at much faster pace.
Yes.
There's more investment coming in now, as much before then. And as you are mentioning, Corona was a great opportunity, and
Yes.
the missionaries used it very well. I know a lot of conversion happened during the Corona period.
Yes. I had known that, I think it was some Dr. Reeves or somebody had even written about it some time back. He had openly boasted that he converted 1 lakh people. They used to have this call up prayer services and so many other services. They said that they adopted 50,000 villages during that time, and then they planted churches. I don't know how they were able to do that in COVID times. How did they even construct those churches? I really don't know.
See, they are very well organized. As far as the organization skills are concerned, it surpasses any corporate culture, any corporate strategies, because conversion is, it doesn't happen just like that. It
No, it
is
is.
they sit in a boardroom, they draw plans, they chalk out plans, and then that is how they disseminate the whole idea of conversion. So I'm sure many of you would have seen what the Joshua project is.
Yes.
Joshua project was thought over many years back, at least 20-25 years back. And if you actually go through the Joshua project, it pins down to the last person which is existing in this nation, in terms of communities, in terms of dialect, in terms of languages spoken, in terms of practices. You name it, it is gone down to that kind of meticulous calculation and strategy. So it's not by chance. This is all well thought out strategies, where it is sat on a in a boardroom, discussed, and then it is extended into this nation, it is filtered into this nation.
Yes.
So with the kind of machinery what these missions have, it is possible to convert large scale. There's large scale conversion of tribals, villages, and our own bastis.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for joining us, and I hope, and really a great thanks to you for gracing our program and enlightening us about so many issues that we face with the church, and I would like to say the evangelist the illegal evangelism that goes on. So that is what I would like to address, and thank you so much for shedding light on the subject, and hope to see you again soon on a different topic. Namaskar.
Namaskar, Gayatri ji. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me on your program.
My pleasure.